The morning silence breaks. Willow Creek was the kind of town where everyone knew everyone, or at least, thought they did. On the morning of October 17, 2019, the stillness of the suburban neighborhood was broken by the wail of sirens. Yellow police tape cordoned off Maplewood Drive, a tree-lined street where autumn leaves swirled in the cold air. 2 patrol cars sat with their light bars flashing, painting the fog in blue and red. Neighbors stood on porches, arms crossed, whispering to each other. Inside the taped-off area, Officer Raymond Keller crouched beside a black sedan parked slightly askew at the curb. Through the passenger side window, the pale, lifeless body of Emily Carter, a 28-year-old schoolteacher, was visible. She was slumped forward, her seatbelt still on, a faint trace of blood at her temple. It didn't look like a robbery, her purse was still in the front seat. This was something else. Something colder. Something planned. The Board of Threads. 2 days later, inside the FBI's Boston field office, Special Agent Laura Benton stood in front of a sprawling corkboard plastered with photographs, Emily Carter, her colleagues, her students, and her small circle of friends. Thin red strings ran between the faces, connecting timelines and events. A map of Willow Creek was pinned to the center, dotted with yellow push pins marking places Emily had visited in her last 72 hours. Laura sipped from a lukewarm coffee and scanned the board. She knew something wasn't adding up. Emily had no enemies, no criminal record, no debts. Yet someone had wanted her dead enough to risk killing her in the middle of a quiet neighborhood. Her partner, Agent Mark Russo, entered holding a folder. "We got the security cam footage from the gas station on Willow Creek Road," he said. Laura's eyes narrowed. "Show me." The grainy footage showed Emily filling her car the night before her death. And in the background, a white pickup truck idling with its headlights off. The same truck appeared in another camera angle, following her out of the lot. The courtroom standoff. 4 months later, the small-town courthouse was packed shoulder to shoulder. The air was heavy with tension. At the front, District Attorney Rachel Miles stood before the jury, pointing toward the witness stand where David Holbrook, 35, sat stone-faced. Holbrook, a local contractor, had been arrested after DNA from a cigarette but matched evidence found at the scene. But he denied everything. "Mr. Holbrook," Miles said, her voice sharp, "you claim you didn't know Emily Carter. Yet we have your cell phone location placing you within 200 feet of her car on the night she died. How do you explain that?" Holbrook leaned into the microphone, his jaw tight. "I can't explain what I didn't do." The jury watched closely, some leaning forward. Behind them, Emily's parents sat in silence, gripping each other's hands. The trial was being streamed on local TV, and the whole town was hanging on every word. The night the town held its breath. The night before the verdict, the streets of Willow Creek were eerily quiet. Outside the courthouse, a small crowd had gathered, their faces illuminated by flashing police lights as officers kept a perimeter. Reporters huddled under umbrellas, giving live updates for the late-night broadcasts. The pavement was slick from a steady drizzle, and in the mist, 2 detectives whispered near the courthouse steps, going over last-minute testimony review. At 9:15 p.m., a police van rolled up, carrying Holbrook back from the county jail for a late procedural meeting. Cameras clicked. People shouted. A woman yelled from the crowd, "We know you did it." But deep in the eyes of Agent Benton, who stood on the edge of the scene, there was uncertainty. Something in her gut told her this case wasn't as clean as it seemed. The twist nobody saw coming. When the verdict came the next day, not guilty, the courtroom erupted. Emily's parents were in tears, the DA was stunned, and Holbrook walked out into the sunlight a free man. But Benton couldn't let it go. 2 weeks later, a tip came in from a trucker who claimed he'd given a ride to a nervous young man the night of Emily's death. That man had confessed, in a drunken haze, to hitting a girl with his truck after she swerved into his lane. It wasn't murder. It was a hit and run, and the killer had never been Holbrook. The real culprit, Jared Cole, 24, was arrested in a small cabin 3 states away. He'd fled after the accident, terrified of prison. When confronted with the evidence, he broke down in tears. The ghost of Willow Creek. Emily Carter's name was cleared of any mystery. But the town of Willow Creek would never be the same. For months, people had pointed fingers, whispered rumors, and turned against each other. Agent Benton stood on Maplewood Drive one last time, watching the autumn leaves fall. The yellow tape was long gone, but the memory of that foggy October morning lingered. "This town will heal," she said quietly to Russo. "But they'll never forget." The camera of our imagined documentary would fade out on the quiet street, the faint echo of sirens still in the distance, a haunting reminder that even in small-town America, shadows can hide just beneath the surface. The town turns on itself. Even after Jared Cole's arrest, the people of Willow Creek didn't celebrate. Instead, they turned their anger inward. For 4 months, the town had been convinced David Holbrook was guilty. He'd lost contracts for his construction business, his friends stopped returning his calls, and strangers shouted at him in grocery store parking lots. Now, standing in the local diner, Holbrook sipped his coffee in silence as whispers floated through the air. "That's the guy they almost put away," someone muttered. Another voice replied, "Still think he's not telling us something." In small-town America, rumors die slower than autumn leaves fall. The confession tape. At the Boston field office, Agent Benton sat in the dim glow of a desk lamp, playing Jared Cole's interrogation video again. In the tape, Jared sat hunched, his hands trembling. "I didn't mean to. I was just tired," he said, his voice breaking. "I saw her headlights, swerved, and I hit her. I panicked. I thought she was dead. I just kept driving." Benton paused the footage and leaned back. There was one thing that gnawed at her: the medical examiner's report didn't match a hit and run. Emily's skull fracture was on the wrong side for the angle Jared claimed. If Jared was lying about the details, what else was he hiding? The second body. 3 weeks later, police in neighboring Harper's Mill responded to a 911 call from hikers who had found a partially buried body in the woods. When Benton and Russo arrived, the forensics team was already at work. The victim? Melissa Ray, 22. Cause of death? Similar head trauma to Emily Carter. Time of death? Late September, just 3 weeks before Emily's killing. The connection between the two women was chilling. Both were young, both were found in isolated locations, and both were last seen driving home alone at night. Suddenly, Jared Cole wasn't just a hit-and-run suspect. He might be something much darker. The pattern emerges. Back at the FBI office, Benton's evidence board grew. A third red string was added, leading to a missing persons case from 2 years earlier, a waitress named Kara Mitchell who vanished after closing her diner shift. The map showed the truth: all the women disappeared or died within a 50-mile radius of the interstate Jared used for trucking. The timeline fit perfectly with his cross-country hauls. Russo looked at Benton, grim-faced. "This wasn't an accident," he said. "It's a hunting ground. The undercover setup." With enough circumstantial evidence to suspect Jared as a serial offender, Benton pushed for an undercover sting. They sent Agent Sarah Morales posing as a stranded motorist on a dark rural road Jared often traveled. Hidden cameras were placed in her car, an unmarked van sat a mile away, and Benton waited with her heart pounding in the surveillance truck. Hours passed. Then, headlights. A white pickup truck slowed to a crawl behind Morales' car. The driver stepped out. It was Jared.